So I haven't made one of these in a minute, but I really wanted to talk about this rather than write about this. And this thing that I wanted to talk about is this fucking harebrained notion that seems to have permeated its way through every single fucking diet cult on the planet. To a greater degree than the seed oils thing. Like, fucking kudos to the marketing team responsible for this horse shit. You actually managed to convince every fucking retard on the planet that this is true rather than just a subset of retards. So congratulations are in order, swear to God. And this idea, it's very simple, but it's also very dumb. This idea is drugs bad though, pharma bad though, oh big pharma though. All of those notions are just things that I'm dropping into the bucket of things that I'm talking about. And we have no reason to believe that any of the associated arguments are actually sound. One such argument might look something like, oh, if the weight loss intervention is pharmaceutical based, then the weight loss intervention is unhealthy, and then you can just modus ponens that straight to Clown Town, and we have no reason to believe it's sound. We have within our hands now the closest thing to a miracle drug we've ever been able to produce for this endpoint. We have a drug that lowers the risk of type 2 diabetes, lowers the risk of heart disease, restores a healthy relationship with food, regardless of dietary composition, by the way, and the side effect profile isn't even that dissimilar from the side effect profile that is associated with just vanilla ass fucking weight loss. You know, I'm gonna count my calories, eat less, move more fucking weight loss. I don't understand why people in these diet camps are telling other people who probably would greatly benefit from this drug, oh no, you don't do that. It's unhealthy. Well, why is it unhealthy? Oh, it's unhealthy because it's not my pet diet. It's unhealthy because it's not the diet, it's not the intervention that I want you to do. I want you to do keto. I want you to do whole food plant-based. I want you to do X, Y, and Z, the Ray Peat fucking coconut oil and ice cream diet. Yeah, it's just utter retardation. It's the most manifestly retarded thing that I have come across in the diet space at large. And it harms people, probably to a greater degree than the anti-seed oil thing. I actually think that like seed oils are probably one of the closest things to a superfood that we've actually produced. Like, they just seem to do nothing but good things to the human body. And I actually think that this notion, this anti-pharma notion, probably harms more people than even the anti-seed oil notion. Yeah, it's just crazy. And I think these people are just fundamentally confusing two different concepts, or they're not appreciating that there are two different concepts here that exist. So with respect to an intervention, there are these two concepts, effectiveness and efficacy. Efficacy refers to how well the intervention works under controlled conditions. The effectiveness refers to how well the intervention works out there in the wildy under less controlled conditions. For diet, yeah, we have a lot of literature out there showing that the efficacy is actually pretty good. Right? You change people's diets, you increase the volume, you reduce the calories, people tend to lose weight. Great. Within, 8 weeks, a year, 2 years, yeah, people tend to lose weight, and the weight seems to, be held off under controlled conditions. But I have yet to see a dietary intervention with long-term effectiveness data that actually panned out into anything favorable. The best one that I had the highest hopes for was Roy Taylor's fucking dietary intervention. That was like 3 meal replacement shakes and a bunch of salads. I had high hopes for that one because the weight loss was rapid and it seemed to be sustained, and it was massive. The weight loss was absolutely massive. But the 5-year recidivism rates were through the fucking roof, and I was really disappointed about that. I was like, fuck, maybe we could actually finally have a dietary intervention that works. But I should have known better, because I actually think that the recidivism rates have more to do with food culture than they do the food environment. I don't think the food environment actually plays a whole lot into it. This is just an intuition that I have. I could make some arguments for them. I don't think any of these arguments would be particularly strong. I don't think many arguments for the origin of the obesity epidemic are particularly good. I have my own kind of notions and intuitions about it. I think it has more to do with food culture, not learning healthy habits at a young age, not having a healthy relationship with food at a young age, and just generally having a cultural ethos that is like supersize everything and finish your plate and all of this stuff. I think it has more to do with food culture than actual food availability, but that's just me. When people return to that sort of environment though, and reintegrate and reassimilate into the food culture, when the weight loss was induced by diet, they tend to regain the weight. We have no reason to believe that this is going to be true of the pharmaceutical. In fact, we have a good reason to believe that this is not going to be true of the pharmaceutical, because pharmaceuticals usually maintain their effectiveness for as long as they're taken, and they are easier to take than it is to follow a diet. Diets are hard to engage with, especially when you have food culture and food environments working against you. Drugs are comparatively easier to take, because all you have to do is go to your doctor and get injected, or you take a pill every day, or you take a pill according to some schedule. That's a lot easier for a lot of people to engage with, and the literature is pretty clear on this. People tend to adhere to drugs better than they adhere to lifestyle interventions. So we have every reason in the world to believe that these drugs are going to maintain weight loss to a greater degree long term than dietary interventions. They have similar side effect profiles, and to the degree that the side effect profile of things like semaglutide are worse, I think the juice is worth the squeeze, especially when we have a good reason to believe that a likewise dietary intervention is not going to last in terms of its effectiveness. It's not going to last, right? On average, this is going to be true. And I know there's going to be some fucking diet quack out there who chimes in and says, I've been on my diet for 10 years and I've kept my 100-pound weight loss off. So Nick, you're full of shit. Guess what? You are on the tail of the curve, if that's true. You don't represent the majority of the population. You are in the minority. On average, this is not true. Recidivism rates on average with dietary interventions are through the roof. We have no reason to believe that this is going to be true of drugs like GLP1, semaglutide, Ozempic. No reason to believe this is going to be true here. We actually have the ability now to restore people's healthy relationships with food, regardless of dietary composition. I mentioned this earlier, I think. Regardless of dietary composition, we have not even come close to replicating this in the diet literature. Think about this. Have we actually shown in the diet literature that we could get long-term effectiveness with weight loss with a dietary intervention, regardless of dietary composition? I'm not aware of that data. And I'm not aware of any good inferences that would lead me to suspect that that's true for diet. But now we have a drug that seems to restore people's healthy relationships with food regardless of the dietary composition. I think that's a pretty important thing, and a lot of people could benefit from that. And the idea that there are people running around out there saying that these are like bad or harmful or unhealthy merely because they're not their pet diets or not their pet interventions is just like deeply morally bankrupt and deeply irresponsible, deeply unethical, and it probably harms a lot of people.